Right now, while you're reading this, there is a bird somewhere near your home running an assessment on you. Not guessing, not reacting randomly, assessing. And the results of that assessment are being broadcast to every other bird within 50 meters. This is what birds know. Most people assume birds make noise. Scientists have spent decades figuring out what that noise actually means, and what they've discovered in the last 20 years rewrote everything. Birds don't just sing, they report, they warn, they evaluate. And a significant part of every conversation happening outside your window right now is about you, who you are, how dangerous you are, and whether you can be trusted. Here's where it starts. Birds don't have one type of vocalization. They have several, and each one carries completely different information. There's the territorial song, the one you hear at dawn when a bird climbs to the highest branch and sings at full volume. That is not joy, that is a warning. It means, this space is mine, stay out. There's the courtship song, softer and more elaborate, designed entirely to impress a mate. It can last for hours and contain dozens of variations the bird has spent months perfecting. But there's a third category that matters most for what we're about to explore. It's not a song at all, it's a call. Calls are short, fast, and extremely specific. They carry precise information. They travel fast. And they are the real working language of birds, the layer of communication that operates constantly, that you have been standing in the middle of your entire life without hearing a word of it. Until now. Subscribe so you don't miss the next one. There are contact calls. A bird telling another, I'm here. Where are you? A brief, direct exchange, like a text message, sent and answered in under a second. These calls keep flocks coordinated across distances, letting birds that can't see each other stay connected through sound alone. Some species maintain contact calls constantly while foraging, a continuous low-level conversation that says, still here, still here, still here. But the calls that involve you directly are alarm calls. Every time you step outside, the birds near you evaluate you in under 2 seconds. And depending on what they decide, they emit a completely different sound. If they know you, if you're the person who fills the feeder every morning at the same time, the call is short and quiet, almost a murmur. The bird equivalent of, it's the usual one, carry on. Everything about you has already been filed. You are no longer a variable. But if you're unfamiliar, or if you do something unexpected, move suddenly, bring a dog, act differently from your usual pattern, the call changes entirely, longer, more urgent, more syllables, and it spreads. The black-capped chickadee has one of the most studied alarm systems in the world. Its alarm call sounds roughly like chickadee-dee. Those syllables at the end, the D's, are not decoration. They are encoded data. The more dangerous the threat, the more D's get added. A large owl sitting motionless on a branch generates 2 or 3 D's. Moderate threat, slow, manageable. But a small owl, faster, more agile, more lethal to a bird its own size, generates 5, 6, 7 D's or more. Maximum threat. It is not a generic cry of fear. It is a detailed threat report with specific data encoded in the number of syllables. Scientists tested this by playing recordings of different alarm calls and watching how other birds responded. The results were exact. More D's produced more intense reactions. Fewer D's produced calmer ones. The birds were reading the data in the call the way you read a number on a screen. And here is what makes it extraordinary. That alarm system is not exclusive to chickadees. Other species understand it completely. Nuthatches hear the chickadee alarm and react. Wrens hear it and hide. Robins hear it and change their behavior. Even squirrels on the ground respond to chickadee alarm calls, freezing, looking up, scanning for the threat the bird just described in a language the squirrel was never taught. It is a cross-species communication network, an invisible internet operating in real time above your head. And you are part of the conversation whether you know it or not. When you walk out into your yard in the morning, here is what happens in the first 30 seconds. The first bird that sees you emits a call. That call carries information about you, your size, your speed, your movement pattern, whether you represent a threat. The call travels from tree to tree, bush to bush, fence to fence. Within seconds, every bird within 50 meters knows you stepped outside, knows whether you're familiar or unknown, and knows whether to worry or not. All of that in under half a minute. And to you, it sounded like a bird singing. But the conversation doesn't stop there. Researchers discovered something even more unexpected. Birds don't only communicate danger, they communicate safety. When a bird feeds calmly at your feeder, other birds watching from the branches read that behavior as data. If that sparrow is eating without fleeing, there is no threat. Scientists call it inadvertent social signaling. The bird eating isn't trying to communicate anything, but its behavior transmits a message as clear as any alarm call. Your yard is a constant stream of data. Every movement, every sound, every silence, all of it is information that birds process, share, and use to make decisions. And there is a deeper level to this that science is only beginning to understand. Researchers describe what they call the landscape of fear, the acoustic map that birds build of their environment based on the sounds they hear. When your yard is quiet in the good way, soft contact calls, relaxed feeding sounds, birds moving freely, that soundscape signals safety. Birds come down to the ground, they bathe, they forage in the open, they stay longer than they otherwise would. But when something changes, the soundscape transforms instantly. An alarm call fires. The contact calls stop. The songs cut off mid-phrase. And a heavy silence falls over the garden. That silence is not empty. It is the most powerful alarm signal in the entire bird communication system. It carries more information than any single call. When every bird in your yard goes quiet at the same moment, something just entered the garden. A cat, a hawk, a stranger. The silence is the most efficient way to transmit maximum danger across the entire network simultaneously. Danger. Everyone freeze. Nobody move. If you have ever noticed your yard go completely silent without warning, no wind change, no obvious reason, you were standing inside a collective decision. Every bird in range made the same call at the same instant. Coordinated. Instantaneous. The silence swept outward from whatever triggered it like a wave, and in the middle of it, completely unaware, stood you. You were probably the reason, and the moment you went back inside, the noise started again. So what exactly are the birds in your yard saying about you? If you are someone who moves slowly, makes no sudden noises, and fills the feeder at consistent times, the conversation about you is brief. A short, quiet call that carries roughly the meaning, it's the regular one. No action needed. Your presence barely registers as a threat anymore. You have been assessed, categorized, and filed. Every bird in your immediate area has inherited that file without ever needing to assess you directly. But if you are unpredictable, if you move fast, make sudden noises, let a cat follow you outside, or skip the feeder for several days and then reappear, the conversation is different. Longer, more syllables, more intensity. It spreads further and takes longer to settle. Your reputation in the local bird network updates in real time every single time you step outside. What makes this genuinely strange is that the file doesn't reset. Birds remember individuals across seasons. A robin that has been fed by the same person for 2 years responds measurably differently to that person than to a stranger, in its calls, in the distance it maintains, in how quickly it returns to feeding after being startled. You have a reputation with the birds of your yard. It was built without your knowledge. It has been updated every day, and it is being shared across a network you cannot see or hear. The bird on the fence right now is not just looking at you, it is reading you. And somewhere nearby, another bird is receiving that read in real time. And the conversation never stops. From the first call before dawn to the last sound before dark, the birds outside are talking, reporting, updating, building a shared picture of everything happening in your yard. Every cat, every hawk, every unfamiliar face, every person who fills the feeder, all of it constantly updated, constantly shared. Researchers at universities across Europe and North America are now working to decode more of this system, mapping which calls correspond to which specific threats, which species understand which signals, and how far a single piece of information can travel through a connected network of birds. Early results suggest the range is far larger than anyone expected. A signal that starts in your yard can reach birds 2 or 3 neighborhoods away within minutes, passed from bird to bird in a chain that moves faster than you can walk. You are not just a person who feeds birds. You are a known quantity in a living information network that has been operating for millions of years. Every morning when you step outside, you step into a conversation that has been going on without you. You are evaluated in seconds. The evaluation is transmitted, and somewhere in the branches, a bird updates your file. The next time you step outside and hear a bird call, stop for a moment. That sound is not background noise. It is a transmission. Somewhere in the frequency, the rhythm, and the number of notes, there is specific information about you moving from bird to bird in a language that is millions of years older than any human word. Most people walk through this conversation every day and never notice it. The birds have been talking the whole time. If you found this interesting, subscribe to What Birds Know and hit the bell so you don't miss the next one. And tell me in the comments, have you ever noticed your yard go completely silent all at once? Now you know why.